what's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, coming at you with a brand new episode of the NCSL Dynasty here on NCAA 14 and featuring the college football revamp as well. Last time y'all saw this series, we had the conference championship weekend where we helped solidify what those conference championship games, what were they going to look like. However, what we find ourselves with now, just because we have this college football playoff, doesn't mean that the bowl games are not important for the teams that are going to take the field in this episode. So, Bowl Mania is coming your way. We have almost 24 bowl games coming in your direction, and it should be a fun one all the way through. If you're excited for the bowl game action, I need you guys to go ahead and do a big favor for me real quick. Go ahead and smack that like button for me, and then also hit that subscribe button as well if you do have to be brand new to the channel. And with that being said, let's not waste any more time, and let's get bowl season officially underway. But with all that being said, let's now go ahead and jump right into the bowl season action. And we'll start with the Illinois Fighting Illini taking on the Arizona Wildcats here in that famous Idaho Potato Bowl, one of the more well-known bowl games outside of that New Year's 6 college football playoff format, as Arizona is going to look to tie things up late in the first quarter, and they will with Isaiah Hefner, who does get this game all knotted up at 7 apiece. Late in the first quarter, however, we'll see Arizona possibly taking their very first lead of the ball game, and a couple of plays later, with a 3rd and goal on the line, their quarterback is going to bravely take on multiple Illinois defenders, and Arizona now has a lead, and they're looking to pull away from this Fighting Illini team, a Fighting Illini team that just seems to have ran out of gas in that second half of the season. Illinois was one of those teams that was in serious contention to go to the MAC championship game and possibly vie for a college football playoff spot, but just wasn't meant to be for Illinois. And here in the bowl game, it just goes to show that, hey, this Illinois team might have actually ran out of gas a little bit. But before we get into halftime, though, we do end up seeing Illinois cut it to at least one possession. However, it might be as close as it possibly gets, because now Illinois is facing a 4th and 16. Certainly no small task at all. Looking towards the end zone, and yep, that fat lady is certainly gonna sing for that famous Idaho Potato. The Arizona Wildcats are going to win that bowl game 31-21 in convincing fashion. But with that being said, speaking of those Arizona squads, well, we got the Arizona Bowl happening right after that. Louisville hired themselves a brand spanking new head coach, and your number one got Louisville to a bowl game. So while they certainly were not close to being ranked at any point of the season, at the same time, getting to a bowl game in year one is an encouraging sign for the Louisville Cardinals moving forward. But this Colorado State team, this Colorado State squad is a legit football team as well. Made it to the Mountain West title game here in the conference championship weekend. And now that being said, we are looking at a very close matchup, a tightly contested matchup for sure. One where Louisville could possibly take the lead, as how about this Eric Moore guy? Oh my word. Eric Moore, I thought he was going to be able to find the end zone, but it's going to be just down at the 1 yard line, and Brigham Davis is going to bring him down, and that does mean Louisville has the lead. Less than a minute left to play, though, in this first half. Colorado State has a chance to respond, as Matt Sherman is able to move the sticks. However, a couple of plays later, though, looking to try to get this ball downfield, looking for a big play. 1 into 1-on-1, and well, it's going to be intercepted. So Colorado State does go into the half down by a few points, but they're certainly not out of this game by any means. First and goal coming up, looking around the middle. He's going to find his receiver, Andy DeLuca. That's a touchdown for Colorado State. And now we're sitting down a goal line situation, looking to score yet again. And the Rams, they are going to batter their way through this third quarter. And now they're the ones in control here in this Arizona Bowl game. Does Louisville have one more gasp of air? Do they have one more gear to take it over the top so that Louisville can finish above 500 on the year? And it looks like there might not be the case, as Dre Kent is going to score with 3:20 left to play. Should seal the deal, especially if they can hold it down here in the red zone one more time, but they don't. They allow Louisville to score, and they actually have a chance to send this out into overtime, but the kick is way off. A chance to send this game out into overtime, and it wasn't even remotely close. Colorado State is going to be your winners of the Arizona Bowl, 31-28. And that does also mean that we are now leading into our very first, yes, you heard that correctly, our very first top 25 matchup here in the bowl season. And here we are in this bowl season. Number 25 TCU is taking on number 19 OHIO. This Ohio Bobcat squad quietly had one of the better seasons in college football, and they're trying to rectify that with a bowl win so they can have their 10th win in the season. TCU, on the other hand, they did manage to fall short. TCU competing for that Big 12 championship. They were crushed by Texas, but they already got their 10 wins, though. They're trying to just finish their year on a strong note as well. Going into the offseason with a 2-game losing streak doesn't always provide a lot of positive energy for your program. So see how this plays out. Very intrigued to see how Ohio plays, because they didn't get much of a chance to see Ohio play very much in gameplay. And so far, not too terribly impressed, to be honest with you. An interception here does give TCU the chance to possibly run away with this game early, but one thing that TCU has struggled with this entire year is that TCU has at times really have struggled to put up any kind of points up on the scoreboard. That has been a recurring issue for this TCU squad, and it might be rearing its ugly head here a little bit here in this Gasparilla Bowl. The Ohio Bobcats do actually have the lead, and then early on in the third quarter, a chance to extend that lead, where Kyle Payne is going to silhouette his way into the end zone. That's going to be another touchdown for the Ohio Bobcats. And the Ohio Bobcats extend their lead even further. And we're now looking at a 17-7 game. So, with that being said, Dorsey is going to line up under center as Dorsey's going to drop back, looks over the middle. He's going to find another receiver, and he's now piecing up the TCU secondary. Touchdown, Ryan Wright. And he certainly was right on the money there. He's been on the money his entire college career. 22nd touchdown of his career. And that does break a school record here at the University of Ohio. No state at the end. Ohio with a convincing lead now, 24-7. But let's see if they can keep this up for the last quarter and a half. And oh my, Cody Dorsey looking to prove all of the naysayers wrong, as Cody Dorsey is able to find the end zone himself. this time being on the ground. Touchdown, Ohio, and the Bobcats with a 31-7 lead. That's what I call proving those naysayers wrong. So that leaves us with just one more quarter of action. TCU down by 24, and it's just not getting any better. Throwing an interception there, you're already pressing. Paul Rawls is just trying to make something happen, but there just wasn't a lot of upside on that throw. Even if that's completed, it's maybe a few yards at most, so a very puzzling decision to let go of that ball. But I'm also a couch quarterback, so to speak. So what do I actually know about the game of football? But TCU is going to score on its next possession. They get that second touchdown that they're looking for. Problem is, even if they get the 2-point conversion, which I want to point out is certainly not guaranteed, there's only a couple of minutes left in this game. And Paul Rawls, well, he does at least get that 2-point conversion. So 2-point conversion is good. Got 2-possession game. They are going to need to get a couple of onside kicks, or at least one, which they don't manage to get at all. They don't get the onside kick, and Ohio's just going to casually run this ball down the field. Darren Williams nearly punches it in. We'll see if they give it to him yet again. And it looks like they did. Darren Williams finds the end zone. It's another touchdown for the Bobcats. And Ohio is likely going to cement itself as a top 15 team in the country when that final AP poll does manage to come on out, as that should really signify that fat lady singing at that point. Another turnover forced by the secondary as Ohio surprisingly dominates this Gasparilla Bowl game. Ohio is going to win this 38-15. Oh my, was this quite a surprise after all? This was certainly a fun watch though. But with that being said, we do have more bowl games coming your way. The Las Vegas Bowl coming up next. And yes, it is yet another top 25 matchup. Number 17 UCLA, the defending national champions, well, they won't get a chance to defend that title, even though they had the benefit of a expanded playoff. They had 12 teams going to this playoff instead of 8, and UCLA still couldn't make it. 8-4 was their final record. Trying to get some sort of constellation prize though, as they'll be taking on number 15 Nebraska, who also doesn't necessarily want to be here either, because Nebraska really felt like they should have been in that conference championship game. They felt like they were better than Minnesota, but because of untimely upsets in American Conference play, Nebraska did not get that benefit of the doubt, could not get in either as an at-large or as a conference champion, obviously. And it definitely shows in that first quarter or so. It certainly shows just by how Nebraska played in that first quarter. Yes, they were only down 7-0, but before this play, this Nebraska sideline had absolutely no energy. However, that pick 6 by Andrews might change the whole complexion of the game, because now, oh baby, Nebraska is involved in this game now. They're going to hand it off to their tailback, Tim Hayden, one of the best tailbacks in the entire country, who barrels his way forward, and eventually Nebraska does bully ball its way down to the goal line, where a quick throw to Terrell Harrell is going to finish the drive. Touchdown Nebraska, and the Cornhuskers are going to extend their lead. They're now going to be up 14-10. But we now jump into the second half. It is still a tight ball game. Nebraska is looking to play a little bit better offensively here in the second half. They only got one positive drive from their offense. That was towards the end of the second quarter, but long drive for the Cornhuskers. leads to yet another touchdown as the Cornhuskers extend their lead here 21-10. So Nebraska seems like they are starting to run away with this ball game. It's only going to get worse for UCLA as that's going to be picked off, and it might be going the distance. Brought down at about the 30-yard line. First down for Nebraska, and they're looking for the death blow. Dropping back, looks to the left-hand side, and immediately catches it in. A touchdown to Travis Wiggins, extending it 28-10, and the fireworks have been so powerful in the second half. We actually get a red square glitch. Now, this is something that we have not seen, I think, since we got NCAA 14 on the PC, on the old PC computer here. But there is always a first for everything here on this channel, and we're certainly getting some of that here, right now, as Brian Robinson, well, not only does he have a couple of passing touchdowns on his side right now, well, he also is going to have some legs on him too. He's able to find a big time run to get the Cornhuskers inside the 5-yard line. And Tim Hayden is going to be able to find the end zone as well. That is a touchdown for Nebraska, as that will indeed make it 35-10. And it was an absolute affair as Nebraska takes down UCLA by that same final score. Nebraska wins pretty convincingly. But oh baby, did we have plenty more top 25 matchups coming in our direction, as Pittsburgh, number 24 in the nation, they're going to be taking on a top 25 team themselves, the Razorbacks of Arkansas. The Arkansas Razorbacks come in ranked number 13 in the nation. And Arkansas is looking to finish their season strong, even though they had a chance to win the Sun Belt Championship. Lost in the final seconds, but still having an excellent season. Could get to 11-2. Pittsburgh, meanwhile, part of that underrated Conference USA, just barely ranked in the top 25, even though they are 9-3 coming in. So this is a real opportunity for the Conference USA as a whole to possibly get some respect, some long needed and long awaited respect, might I add. So we'll see if Pittsburgh can live up those expectations for Conference USA. And Arkansas does take a lead, but man, Pittsburgh is certainly still in this game by all means. What will constantly be a challenge for the Arkansas Razorbacks, meanwhile, is Pittsburgh is one of the fastest offenses in the entire country. You see what they do every time they get a positive play. They try to go into the no huddle. That time around, however, they might have gone a little too fast for their own liking and for their own good. Arkansas is going to nab this interception. In Pittsburgh is not able to score on that drive, but they'll make up for it here late in the second quarter, as Pittsburgh will get a nice little quarterback draw for the end zone scamper, as Pittsburgh now takes the lead. 10-7 is your score now, as Kyle Williams is looking to build off of his previous drive, but the ball is on the ground, and Arkansas is going to recover the fumble recovery. However, Arkansas could not capitalize. They actually miss a field goal, so going to halftime, and it's a very low-scoring game. It's been, honestly, a somewhat sloppy game. You know it's bad when you have more turnovers than touchdowns. You don't see that very often in modern college football, but we are certainly seeing that here today. That's for sure. So Arkansas, even though they have this significant advantage in turnover margin, they're +2 in that, they're still down by 6 points here late in the third quarter. However, Isaac Jacobs does have the Razorbacks in field goal range, but I have a feeling that they don't want to settle for a field goal. They want to get so much more than that, and they will. Zach Beck was able to win off of the line of scrimmage quickly, They tried to set up the press, and yeah, that did not work at all. That actually horribly backfired for Pittsburgh. And now the Panthers need a touchdown in order to send this game into overtime. And that's exactly what they're going to get. Dan Moore is going to find the end zone. Touchdown, Pittsburgh. And the Pittsburgh Panthers are very likely going to be sending this game to overtime after all. So, first overtime underway. Pittsburgh's going to start with the ball, and they don't do anything too crazy, but they missed the field goal there. So, all Arkansas's got to do, hit this 50-yard field goal. That's not going to be easy, but that's what they're going to exactly try to do. This is to end the game, and it's good. Arkansas takes advantage of the special teams miscue, and Arkansas is going to come out on top. They will take down the Pittsburgh Panthers 23-20 in what was a very competitive New Orleans bowl game after all. And Arkansas is going to finish the year 11-2. But we take a quick break from all the bowl games that have been happening as we now go to sunny Oahu, Hawaii for this year's edition of the Hawaii Bowl. And it will pit number 14 Army taking on the unranked BYU Cougars. But BYU has shown that, hey, they can take on some quality opponents and win in those games. Just BYU is just not necessarily the most consistent of football teams that are out there right now. 7-0 lead for the Army Black Knights as they'll go ahead and go to work once again, dumping it off up the middle for Aaron Johnson. And Aaron Johnson will nearly pick up the first down as they try to look for a quick 14-0 lead. Army's going to hand it off yet again, and Matthew Russell almost found the end zone. Thought he had it there. Certainly thought that he had it there, but he just does not quite punch it in there. So, goal line situation with everybody and their mom down at the goal line. And Matthew Russell was able to punch it through anyways. Army's going to take a quick 14-0 lead. But it turns into a little bit of a rock fight here. One of those ugly rock fight type of games. One in which it took until late in the third quarter until we saw another touchdown in the game. It just goes to show how effective Army's defense was in this particular bowl game. But Army has a chance to really put the dagger in here in the Hawaii Bowl, running it with their quarterback, and Victor Hairston is going to seal the deal for the Army Black Knights. Army wins should win 24-7 unless we have something crazy happen here, but it's gonna be intercepted. Okay, should be that fat lady officially singing now, and so Army does in fact win 24-7. One of the better teams in bowl season proved it right there. But we do have another bowl game coming in our direction. This used to be called the Quick Lane Bowl. I don't know if it's still called the Quick Lane Bowl or not, but Troy's gonna have their hands full for sure against West Virginia. West Virginia coming in as one of the better teams of the MAC. Again, a moment for the MAC to possibly distinguish themselves. Very competitive conference this year. Had some teams definitely step up between, not only this West Virginia team, but Northern Illinois, who we're going to see in this next episode. Illinois was in the hunt for quite some time as well. And then, of course, you got Tennessee and Notre Dame, who had disappointing years, but they were still bowl eligible. So all of that was happening. And yet here's Troy. Troy's not a team that has garnered a ton of attention this year. But Troy, they clearly came out here not playing for quicks. They came to play for a bowl win. And Troy is handling business so far. Putting the Mountaineers of West Virginia, well, they're putting them on their heels right now. That's for sure. Should be a competitive football game on our hand as Dan Bishop does also break the school record for most rushing yards in a single season. Is now 2nd and 3 coming up. Looking over to the right-hand side, and he finds Kevin Miller. into the end zone, and that is a touchdown for the Mountaineers, as they have a chance to get a 2-point conversion to tie things up. And the 2-point conversion is going to be successful. 2-point conversion is going to be good. And it leads us right into this fourth quarter of action. All knotted up at 20. They go with the triple option. John Madison finds the end zone. Touchdown, Troy. And the Troy Trojans do pull it out after all, taking down a ranked West Virginia team to end the season. And now that million-dollar question is, can Virginia, not West Virginia, oh no, I'm talking about regular Virginia, can they do the exact same thing as well? Because they're taking on Wisconsin here in this Military Bowl. Wisconsin, a team that was in that hunt for the American Conference Championship. And quickly we see how good Wisconsin is in comparison to what this Virginia Cavaliers team was this year. Granted, Virginia absolutely earned this bowl bid. They absolutely did earn the right to go to a bowl game. I mean, an 8-4 record is nothing to scoff at all. But Wisconsin proved to be too much for Virginia, and Wisconsin won pretty comfortably here. We'll see if we have that same kind of runaway game in the early parts. Wake Forest taking on Toledo in the Duke Mayo's Bowl. And, you know, we kind of done goofed on the uniforms a little bit. Meant to get the yellow jerseys for Toledo. Wanted everyone to wear their color jerseys, but that clearly did not happen here. And, yeah, so I apologize if the the navy blue for Navy and the black for Wake Forest, if it looks a little bit similar on screen. However, Wake Forest is not going to apologize for the quality performance that they were able to put down, as Wake Forest puts up 50 plus in the Duke Mayo Bowl. But now we head out to sunny California, where the Charlotte 49ers do make that cross-country trip in order to take on the Bears of California, who, still found a way to scratch themselves into bowl season. They were a team that was ranked in the top 10, or at least in like that top 10, top 15 range. And yeah, they were definitely one of the more disappointing teams this year. But Charlotte is an underrated program on the other hand. We saw Charlotte actually ranked a couple of times here in this NCSL series. And Charlotte, while they're not ranked here necessarily, they do, on the other hand, did put together a solid season. Not a liquid or a gas by any means, as they go 8-4 to finish out that regular season and have a chance to finish with a well above average record of 9 wins. If they can make this comeback against Cal happen, because boy, did Charlotte get off to a very slow start. Very slow start here for the Charlotte 49ers, but Charlotte does score there, and hey, we might have a ball game after all. Very next drive, as Cal does drive it all the way into the red zone. Lots of bodies flying around John Keys, but John Keys is going to have no issue at all. Able to get some more yardage there, a couple of extra yards. It eventually sets up a Daryl Johnson touchdown as well, as California does end up scoring yet again. And Charlotte all of a sudden could be in, they could be in a little bit of trouble. They can certainly be a little bit of trouble here, especially if Cal does end up finding the end zone once again. As now, Lance Morgan's going to hand it off to the tailback, Trey Price, and barrels through a couple of Charlotte defenders, find the end zone. That's a touchdown for the California Bears, and the Bears are cruising through this thing. 30-10 your score. Charlotte needing a miracle here in this last quarter of action if they want to be champions of the Holiday Bowl. They might sort of get one here, actually. Brock Brown's going to score for Charlotte, help get this game a little bit closer. But that was just a moral victory, though, as Cal still ends up winning by 20. And so Cal does end up winning the Holiday Bowl and finishing above 500. Now, a few hours after that game took place, we do have the Cheez-Its Bowl between Oklahoma and Clemson. Clemson last year did have the Heisman Trophy quarterback, Kaisuke Nakamura, but he was hurt for much of this year, so Clemson did end up going a disappointing 9-3. Expectations are different for every team, so 9 wins for Charlotte is good. A program like Clemson, that's a different story. They're probably looking for more than 9 wins in any given season, but they could get to a 10th win if they can beat this Oklahoma squad here. Could be a good non-conference matchup to end both of these teams' seasons, but both teams struggling to find any rhythm offensively. You see how deep we are into this game, and the only thing that we have to show for it is one measly field goal that took place outside of the red zone. So it's been rough. You absolutely do hate to see it if you're an offensive-oriented guy. But with 1 minute left to play in the first half, not only do we get 1 touchdown, but in the last play of the first half, just a little bit of a chuck and pray, and it actually works. Pat Glover scores, and that turns into 2 touchdowns for the Clemson Tigers right before we get into halftime. So a lot of momentum being built for this Clemson Tigers team, as now 14-3 lead being taken into that final quarter of action. We'll see if Clemson can put some daggers in. 2nd and goal coming up, as they're going to go ahead and run out to the left-hand side, and that is going to be in the end zone. Touchdown Tigers! And Clemson will extend what has already been a pretty impressive performance, especially for their defense, holding down a pretty explosive Oklahoma team to just a field goal, and that's it. And mind you, Oklahoma got this way back in the first half, so ever since that first quarter, Oklahoma has done jack shit offensively, and Charles Ernst is going to find Colton Allen in the end zone for a nice little chef kiss on the Cheez-Its Bowl, as Clemson does storm Oklahoma 35-10. A very impressive performance laid down. Meanwhile, North Texas is going to get the rare opportunity to appear on national television, as North Texas is going to be taking on Mississippi State here. Winner of this game will get their 8th win of the season. So let's see what's shaking between these two teams, especially for North Texas. You know, I haven't had a chance to see North Texas play in the regular season. None of their games were compelling enough to do so, but early returns for North Texas shows that, hey, this is a team that can certainly compete with, you know, some of these quote-unquote former power conference teams. The conferences are a lot different today than what you guys are knowing about, you know, in real life, just to put it lightly. Yeah, very close game nonetheless, but I think the talent of the depth charts is starting to shine just a little bit, because we do end up getting to the second half, and in the second half, they do make this particular rushing touchdown look very easy. Not a lot of resistance from the North Texas defensive front, and now North Texas needs some points in pass, because 24-13 not going to cut if they actually want to win this bowl game. But a nice dot there to Rodney Clark is going to set up the Mean Green inside the 5-yard line. We're on a 1st and goal. They're going to run it in with the tailback, Ryan Thomas, yet again. Not only have they gained this touchdown, but they also go for the 2-point conversion as well. And that 2-point conversion, well, trying to get anybody to get open, and that just did not happen there at all. So, if Mississippi State can score a touchdown, it could be over. And oh yeah, it could certainly be over now that we saw BJ Hughes throw his 3rd passing touchdown of the day. As now North Texas, I'm interested to see how fast they go here, particularly if they don't get out of bounds or pick up that 1st down. Like right there, Kevin Stewart cannot take a sack. You got to get it thrown away in some sort of capacity. Instead, it's 3rd and 8. Mississippi State sends the blitz, but good job finding Stephen Williams able to counteract the blitz, and that was Caleb Moore, the custom quarterback, that made that throw. So I don't know if Caleb Moore, he has a bright future, but North Texas does lose today. But with that being said, we now jump into the Armed Forces Bowl coming up next. And in the Armed Forces Bowl, we got UNLV, who is seeking their 9th win of the season, and Missouri coming in at a respectable 7-5 as well. But towards the end of the first quarter, we still do not have a score yet, and UNLV is finally going to break the ice here. Eric Bentley's going to find the end zone. It's a touchdown for UNLV. And not only are the Rebels winning this game, but I'm surprised to see that UNLV could be dominating this game. I mean, if it wasn't for Jamal Bowman throwing an interception, I mean, this score could be looking a lot worse. The fact that Missouri really has not done anything offensively, it's actually been really tough to watch, to be honest. So UNLV still hasn't done very much themselves, but they've done just enough to really take control of this game, and they can even extend the lead here. 1st and goal opportunity early in the 3rd quarter. This would make it 20-0, and there it is. Eric Jones is going to be able to find the end zone. That's a touchdown for UNLV. And look at that, we are now staring down a 20-0 lead before Missouri finally gets itself into the end zone here in this Armed Forces Bowl game. Missouri having a decent season, but not really showing that they're a decent team here today. As late in the 3rd quarter, Jamal Bowman's going to drop back. He's going to throw a dot to Ryan Butler, and Ryan Butler's going to find the end zone. That's a touchdown for UNLV. Early in the 4th quarter, though, looking to finish the job as Jamal Bowman again finds the end zone one more time, as that should be the nail in the coffin, as UNLV surprisingly dominates in this Armed Forces Bowl as they win convincingly. Now, with that said, we got Penn State going on and taking on number 11 LSU. LSU nearly making it to the college football playoff, but they did lose in that conference championship game against Ole Miss. Now, that being said, let's see what this Penn State team can do. Is Penn State felt like they were a little underrated this year. Did not get a lot of love, even though they are a quote-unquote bigger program. And they were off to a hot start. They did falter in Conference USA play, but they did get off to a pretty hot start. And that is going to continue here in this bowl game. The Winning Tree Bowl being kind to our friends at Penn State, as they really had Happy Valley travel with them. Penn State's going to take a 21-0 lead here eventually, really showing their dominance, showing that, hey, there is more than just the southeastern part of the country playing quality college football, and that has shown itself very evidently, not only in this particular bowl game, but throughout the course of this episode as well thus far. It's been really a beautiful thing to watch. Penn State, on the other hand, up 20-7. They're going to look for another touchdown. This quarterback's going to scramble. He's looking for the first down marker and slides down right before getting to the sticks. Still, a 9-yard game is very impressive, and it does eventually set up a goal line situation where 1st and goal, this same quarterback's going to drop back. He's going to scramble again, trying to take on everybody, and does not move forward once he initiates that contact. However, very next play of a tailback, Corey Carter is going to find the end zone, and that is another touchdown for the Nittany Lions. LSU, one of the best teams not playing in a bowl game, or not playing in a college football playoff game, I should say. They're in some serious trouble. They are certainly in some serious trouble. Might be dropping their 3rd game of the season if they are not careful. And while LSU does make that late push, it will certainly not be enough, as Penn State's able to pull off an upset here in the Lending Tree Bowl game. Now, with that said, we do have some top 25 matchups coming in our direction. Number 16, Rice is going to be taking on a ranked Washington Huskies squad. Washington making it to that Pac-12 title game, as they did end up falling to USC, and they weren't high enough in the rankings to get an at-large bid. Rice, on the other hand, they had that painful loss to Texas, and that sealed their fate as well, effectively. But that being said, should be a quality matchup either way, as Rice is looking to get the first touchdown of the game. They know how to run it with their quarterback. Terry Wesley, listen, he may play that quarterback position, but he's got them legs for sure. Has over 1,000 yards rushing on the season, but he might be a little bit over-reliant on those legs, because this Washington pass rush, oh baby, they can certainly get itself home. Not a lot of breathing room for the veteran quarterback, and so he'll actually have to throw the ball here a little bit more often. Rice being a little bit more run-oriented, and granted, Washington is like this as well. It's going to be real interesting to see who gets that ground game going first. Whoever is more effective on the ground, I think, is going to end up winning this game. And it looks like Rice is going to get the first strike in. Rice is going to have the first touchdown of the game late in the first quarter, and it gives an Owls the 4-point lead. However, right before going into the end of the first quarter, Washington is going to answer back with a long touchdown drive of their own. That is Cole McIntyre that is running through a Rice defender on the way to the end zone. And that was a beautifully set up route as well, faking going to the outside before they cut back in. And now Washington has the lead themselves. Terry Wesley, on the other hand, is going to dump it off to his fullback. And hang on now, he's still on the feet. Andre Falk is going to pick up a gain of 20 plus on a check down. You always love to see that. That is bonus points. You get that many yards on a check down play of all things. And it's bonus points when you have a runner as hard as Andre Falk. Andre Falk showing the toughness on this particular run, as he will also punch it into the end zone. A touchdown for the Rice Owls in this circumstance. So, could be a back and forth affair here in the Alamo Bowl, as Washington looks to answer back as they find themselves down by 4. And Washington is certainly getting them keys out, because they are on a drive. Washington looking to go ahead and get this pitch out to the tailback. Tailback's got a bunch of room on the outside and nearly finds the end zone. Lamont Laws is going to fall short at the 1-yard line, and the job will be finished by his starter, Sean Terrell, who finds the end zone. Touchdown, Huskies! And Washington will retake the lead. So critical drive here for Rice here with 1:30 left in the first half. Wesley trying to throw to the outside and gets intercepted. And just breaking the Cardinal rule, just stared down the defender. Now it's an easy pick 6 for the true freshman in Randy Washington out of Rowan Heights, California. And not only does Washington end up scoring on a pick 6, but Rice, having to punt the ball away on the very next drive, does set up Washington with one more opportunity, and they will not waste any further time. Cole McIntyre is going to have his second touchdown of the day, as that was a beautiful throw over the middle. The other defense simply stood no chance. So, 31-17 lead for the Washington Huskies here, and this is a critical drive for Rice defensively. Really could see a spot to where this game could really get out of hand if they are not careful. Rice is well coached, but they are not necessarily built with the talents to come back from behind. And Josh Hayden lets them remind themselves of that, as he will find the end zone for the Washington Huskies off of that spread triple option that has been unstoppable today, as Washington will score a 38-17 lead. However, closing moments of the third quarter, Rice looking to show that, hey, they still got that fight in them. And how about this run right here, somehow getting out of all the traffic? does end up getting caught from behind, but Andre Folk with a 50-yard scamper. However, that could be his final run of the day. Andre Folk does end up hurting himself. We do find out later off screen what this particular injury was, and it was an abdominal tear. He tears his abdominal in the bowl game. Safe to say that he is going to be done, so we won't see him again, and that's a huge impact. That's one of the best players that Rice does have on its team, because they don't have a lot of great players on their defense. We've seen this in the Texas game, and we're seeing it unfold here in this Alamo Bowl as well. Just really a paper thin defense there in Rice, because we still have 7 minutes left to play, and they've already put up 40 plus points in this particular game. Could be a 50 burger if they are not careful, and sure enough, on the verge of the 50 burger, they just keep going back to all reliable, going back to that spread triple option. They're having a hard time covering it. They're having a hard time tackling too, evidently, as that run should have been brought down a lot sooner. Instead, it's an easy 1-yard scamper for Scott Johnson on the very next play, and there it is. Washington gets a 50 burger on the board here at the Alamo Bowl. Rice at this point with 3:30 left to play. Well, they are simply playing for pride as they have their backup quarterback in the game now. Terry Wesley did end up getting shaken up. He was good to go, just, last game of the season. Just want to see what you have in the backup. And the backup quarterback for Rice, he's not too bad. They could have something here in this quarterback for Rice, able to lead a touchdown towards the end of the game, but Washington simply was too much at the end of the day as Washington wins 55-31. Now, with that being said, we just have some more bowl games coming your way now. Oh yeah, the party certainly does not stop here. Alabama is going to be taking on SMU. The Mustangs looking to get above 500 as well as finish the season with a quality bowl win over one of the more historically gifted programs in the country in Alabama. But the Crimson Tide have indeed fallen on some tougher times than usual. They're not used to losing multiple games in a season here in Tuscaloosa, but if they're still here in a bowl game, they could still finish the year strong. However, SMU might be coming with some other ideas. They're actually jumping out to a 14-0 lead, and then Mark Burchard is going to exacerbate things further by throwing an interception in the red zone. So a sloppy start for the Crimson Tide. However, over the length of the second half, the Crimson Tide, they claw and screech with their fingernails, and if they can get a touchdown on this drive, they can make it just a one-score game. Second and goal, Burchard looks over the middle, finds his receiver. That's a touchdown for the Crimson Tide. As now we're looking at a chance for Alabama to pull to within just a field goal. They're trying the old reliable, that halfback dive. It actually works. It actually does end up working pretty well after all. Although that was actually a touchdown. I was surprised. I actually thought for a split second that was a 2-point conversion. That 2-point conversion does end up happening. And you could see ever since SMU jumped out to that lead, they leaned into that gaming chair just a little bit more. Then they finally started to lock in. Alabama has come out with 27 unanswered since then, looking to make it 34. And that is gonna happen for sure as Ernest Concepcion also finds the end zone there as well. Touchdown Crimson Tide. And so Alabama, after a shaky start, should win this. But hold up now. Wait a minute. A pick six could be happening on the peripherals. If he finds his way in here, we got ourselves an interesting game all of a sudden. Now it comes down to an onside kick potentially. Thankfully for Alabama, they do end up recovering it. But hey, shout out to SMU for trying to keep it spicy there towards the end of that game. That being said, we now shift back over to the West Coast as San Diego State goes and takes on North Carolina in the Sun Bowl out there in El Paso, Texas. Should be a good matchup between these two teams that know how to put up some points up on that scoreboard. And that has been prevalent early as both teams are making plays, but more specifically, North Carolina also making some big plays themselves. But with that being said, since North Carolina has a 14-0 lead, and the Aztecs, who normally are more offensively gifted, might I add, well, they're struggling in this game. Both teams might be a little bit more nervous after all. Both just trying to finish on that high note. It's always so important to carry momentum into an offseason, as San Diego State finally does get on the board after all, with 4 minutes left to play in the first half, and we got ourselves a one-possession game. Granted, they did end up missing the extra point, so you do hate to see it, because now if San Diego State wants to tie this game, not only do they have to get into the end zone, which is not guaranteed, by the way, you gotta also go for the 2-point conversion, but North Carolina is gonna shut that down. North Carolina is gonna hold on to its lead for the present moment. We'll see what the Tar Heels can do with 30 seconds left. Looking over the middle, but facing some pressure, and gets intercepted. San Diego State gets another chance anyways. They get a field goal out of it, and it will fuel the Aztecs to a lead late in this third quarter of action. 1:20 left to play in the third quarter. San Diego State putting together a decent drive. They're in the red zone. We're going to run it up the gut, as that will help pick up a gain of 6. A modest game for Garrett Whitaker, but that will carry him over 100 yards on the day. He's been a little bit busy here today, probably expecting that full workload, but Tom O'Neal will be the one to carry it into the end zone. And that's a touchdown for the Aztecs. And now San Diego State with 24 unanswered. Seems to be a big thing here in these last couple of bowl games. One team gets out to a hot start, but then the other team seizes momentum and takes back control and pulls away, dare I say it. North Carolina could be in the same spot, especially if they can't find the end zone on this particular drive. First and goal, less than 6 minutes left. Bates is going to keep it himself and finds the end zone. Touchdown, North Carolina. And the Tar Heels are right back in it. But will San Diego State keep them at arm's length, though, as that run by Garrett Whitaker sets up another goal line opportunity. This could be for the game. San Diego State drops back, fires, and finds Bamatoon Buckley for the touchdown. San Diego State in firm control here in El Paso, Texas. But maybe not for long. Lester Estes scores with 2 minutes left to play. But San Diego State, all they got to do is run out the rest of his clock. But they decide to throw. They decide to throw the ball. And now it's going to be returned the other way. And it's going to go all the way to about midfield. There's a chance here that we might be going to overtime. They get to about a 55-yard field goal. The kick is up, but it's no good. It's going to miss wide to the left. And you could tell as soon as he hit this ball, but that was going to be offline. San Diego State, by the length of their fingernail, is going to hang on and win the Sun Bowl. But now we get into more bowl game action. Coastal Carolina taking on the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers as we find ourselves in the beautiful state of Tennessee for this Music City Bowl action, as both teams are seeking their 8th win of the season. Coastal Carolina, after nearly taking down Georgia and pulling off some nice wins along the way, we're going to have one of the best seasons here since the institution of the NCSL was established, as Coastal Carolina looks to throw over the middle and finds Charles Patrick for a nice first down. The Chanticleers looking to take the lead here on this goal line situation, and a couple of plays later, they will do exactly that. Antoine Hawkins finds the end zone for the Chanticleers, and it allows them to open it up. 13 unanswered points before, right as we are about to go to halftime, Fred Lester throws that dot, and it will remain close throughout the second half. Both teams really trading punches in what has been an exciting Music City Bowl game. 1 point game between the two teams as Coastal Carolina looks to put itself ahead, and they do. Brian Morris finds the end zone. Touchdown, Coastal Carolina. And the Chanticleers will take the lead, but they're going for the 2-point conversion. They're feeling spicy. But Antoine Hawkins can't punch it in. And all Rutgers got to do now, they just got to score. They have to put this ball into the end zone if they want to win. But they can win off of that touchdown if they get a stop here. And that's the most important thing. They got to stop Coastal Carolina right here, right now. It's put up or shut up time. Looking over to the right-hand side. It's intercepted. It's picked off, and Rutgers is kicking it the other way. He breaks one tackle. One man left to beat, and he can't even catch him himself. That man is going to be gone like a girl in a country song. Touchdown, Rutgers. And how about this for a swing state affair? Rutgers, on the brink of defeat, might have snatched the jaws of victory after all. The 2-point conversion helps, and Rutgers hangs on and wins off of a pick six. Imagine that. And that just hopes that it sets the table for even better bowl games down the line. USF and Houston coming up next, as we got another classic matchup possibly on our hands. Two solid programs, South Florida and Houston. Both are looking to take those next steps when they get into season number 5. Yes, there will be a season number 5. Don't worry, for those of you that have been enjoying this NCSL series so far. They're trying to compete for those conference titles. They're probably a year or two away from that, but to take that next step, it would help to win the bowl game. And so far, it's been a very competitive bowl game here, even though it is pretty early on. For 2nd and 9 for the Houston Cougars as they try to tie this game up, throwing it over to the tight end, Nick Thompson, who finds the end zone. A touchdown for the Cougars in order to go ahead and tie this thing up. But now we jump into the second quarter of action here as Houston looking to take the lead for the first time today, and they will with Ian Barnes. Ian Barnes able to find his way into the end zone, but USF will answer back in time with a beautiful throw to Jay Jackson. Oh, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson, but that man is for real. That is the truth about that, and so is this secondary for the Bulls of USF. They are not around. They are certainly not bowling around at all, as both teams playing some high-level football. Close game here, getting into the second half. USF having a chance to take the lead, but is picked off. They'll have to run it back again later, hoping for better results here on this particular red zone possession, as USF has well over 400 yards passing today, yet they only have 21 points to show for it. Shows how bad that red zone efficiency has been for USF. Houston giving it to them on the silver platter, but like your average toddler, they are picky little eaters. But with 4 minutes left to go, he finds Jay Jackson again to give the Bulls the lead. And now all the pressure is on Houston, needing a touchdown, trying to run this upfield. And sure enough, Ian Barnes finds some open space in order to pick up a critical first down for the Houston Cougars. Now a red zone opportunity awaits for Houston as they set up the play action. Plenty of time to throw, but it's going to go ahead and just scramble. He gets across the 5-yard line and gets absolutely lit up like a Christmas tree. But he still hangs on to that ball, which is the most important thing, because with less than 2 minutes left to play, Dante Sims might have given Houston the game-winning touchdown. And that is all she wrote, folks. Houston is going to win in this critical bowl game against the USF Bulls on that last-minute drive. But now we check in on Iowa. Iowa nearly make it to the American Championship game, taking on Utah. Utah, one of those teams that did end up fading in the second half of the season. They went just 2-3 in their final 5 games after they did start the season 7-0, and they were even ranked in that top 25. It wasn't that long ago, guys. Utah is a decent football team that has fallen on hard times, but Bryson Culver is looking to own this stage. Over 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns to his name this season. He's been a key cog of the Utah offense. As now we have a close game on our hands yet again. We have been blessed with good competitive games here in this episode. And who says there isn't any magic left in bowl season? Couldn't be me. 3rd and inches, dropping back, looks over to the right-hand side, quickly finds the tailback, Eric Rogers. Rogers was actually a wide receiver that checked in the backfield, and nobody accounted for him. That was an easy 10 yards for this Utah offense, and they're looking to continue to build off of that as Nate Harden flew up in the air and got some serious hang time. Oh my goodness. And that's going to come in handy because, hey, it sets up this touchdown a few plays later to Kevin Hooper, just throwing an absolute dot. Joe Ingram really feeling himself today. 3 passing touchdowns in the first half for Joe Ingram. It's fueled Utah to his 10-point lead here in the 4th quarter. And now they're just hanging on to try to finish the job. 3rd and goal coming up. Looking over to the left-hand side. He does find his receiver, McCutcheon, for the touchdown. It makes it just a field goal game. And eventually, they actually do also get a field goal themselves. And so 30-all is your score. We are going to take this in the overtime. And I was looking to win this in the overtime right now. They just got to keep Utah out of the end zone. Ingram looks over the middle and finds Kevin Hooper for another touchdown. Joe Ingram absolutely feeling himself today. It fuels a second overtime, one in which Utah starts with the ball. We'll see what Utah can do here with this second overtime period, as we do have a 1st and 10 coming our way. As Ingram sets up play action, gets hit as he's thrown, but it's intercepted. It will be picked off in the end zone. Probably could have been caught if he was able to put everything on this ball there. And well, instead, all Iowa got to do, just get some points, and that's it. That should be the game winner. But wait a minute, is it offsides? No, they're calling it on Utah. And because it's on Utah, the game is over. Iowa's going to win here in double overtime as they win 43-37. What a barn burner. And we might have some more barn burners coming our way shortly, as number 12, Florida State is going to be taking on the Wolverines of Michigan. Lost 1 game the entire year, but because the strength of schedule for Michigan was very suspect, the Big Ten was down this year. I'm not going to lie to you. Big Ten not on the same level as many of these other conferences in this realigned version of the NCSL. So, because of that, Michigan does find itself outside of the college football playoff. But a good consolation prize here nonetheless, as they'll take on a very good football team themselves in the Seminoles of Florida State. But it's going to become very clear between the rain that we see on the field and just how these two teams play at times. But with that being said, towards the end of the first half, Sean Johnson is going to find the end zone for the Michigan Wolverines squad. And with that being said, we are now looking at a tie ball game here, 10-10 apiece. So we got a competitive ball game here in the Citrus Bowl down in Orlando, Florida, where Florida State has a chance to try and retake the lead all to themselves. 1st and 10 from inside the red zone as they set up another speed option, trying to pitch it out. A dangerous pitch, but it somehow gets through to Aaron Don anyways. Touchdown, Florida State, and the Seminoles will in fact take the lead back after all. Now Michigan has to respond though. 1st and 10, looking over the middle, trying to throw it to his top receiver, but he was double covered, and that was absolutely an ill-advised throw. Justin Castillo going to have the interception, and Junior Blaylock, he has not made very many mistakes today. That was certainly one of them, though, as now his team still finds itself down. Very fortunate that they were only able to come away with a field goal in order to keep this a one-score game in the first place. But now can Michigan find one more gear? 5 minutes left. Florida State has the ball, trying to throw downfield, looking for a dagger, but it's intercepted. The Michigan defense holds, and the team up north will have one more chance to go and tie this game. Jonathan Smart wanted all of the marbles. He went all in, but he didn't have the cards. Thankfully, the Florida State defense would hold up, and the Seminoles would still win 20-13. But oh baby, was this a pretty sloppy game though. Now, with that said, we have just a couple of bowl games remaining. Georgia Tech is going to take on Ball State. Ball State having a surprisingly good season. You know, Ball State on the verge of a 10-win season. One of the better seasons that Ball State has had. And this is, by the way, this is coming off of a year in which either last year or a couple of years ago, Ball State did not win a single game, by the way. So, a lot of growth within this program here at Ball State University. And they're hanging with Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, not a bad team either. It is good to see that we're getting some attention to Ball State as well, obviously, as Marquise Simmons makes the catch, and he's going to be the future of the program at the quarterback position. But because of his athleticism, you know, getting some run at the wide receiver position as well. So, someone to maybe keep an eye out on in the future. But for now, Amon Morse is going to run them forward, pick them up a nice little first down real quick. 2nd down coming up, looking to throw over the middle. It's going to find his man deep downfield. A nearly 40-yard scamper to allow Georgia Tech the chance to possibly extend the lead, and they will. Amon Morse is going to find the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia Tech. And a 17-7 lead now ensues. As now, 2nd and 1 coming up. We're going to throw over the right-hand side and finds Joe Herron for another critical touchdown, too. As now, 1st and 10 coming right up. Looking to again score against this Ball State squad. And while Ball State, you know, we talked about how good of their season that they've had. They might have a little bit of a ways to go before they compete with some of the bigger dogs in college football, as Amon Morse does break the school record for most passing yards in a single season. It's the first one with over 3,100 yards, and he's going to increase that furthermore by throwing another 11-yard scamper. So, Georgia Tech does have a 31-7 lead. But Ball State is certainly not gonna quit. 4th quarter, looking for their first touchdown in a country mile minutes, as their quarterback is going to scramble and shakes off a couple of tackles. Zach McDaniel able to find the end zone after all. Touchdown for the Ball State Cardinals, and they're now looking at a 31-13 lead. Meanwhile, Daniels looks over the middle and finds Jonathan Seward for another touchdown here. Hang on now, wait a minute. The Cardinals are trying to storm on back, and they get it to a point where it becomes a one-possession game, one where Ball State could actually try and tie. They had a chance to tie, but they went free and out and decided to punt the ball, surprisingly. So a little bit of a not so climatic end, but Georgia Tech does end up winning. And that takes us to our final bowl game that we have in this episode. Florida taking on the Blue Devils of Duke. Duke going to that ACC championship game. They did fall against Virginia Tech. And Duke is going to get off to a hot start here. Sid Silva is officially back. He was injured for a decent amount of that regular season towards the end. Also did not play in the ACC championship game either. Feels good to have Sid Silva back for sure. But with that said, Octavian Cador shows that this Florida team has plenty of talent on this roster, and there was a reason why Florida did come in as a top 25 team to begin the season. They did end up falling short, but Florida has done very well against teams that are not ranked in the top 25, and Duke certainly falls under that umbrella. So we'll see what Octavian Cador can do for the rest of his drives. He's just continuing to use the legs, but he puts the ball on the ground, and it's going to be recovered by the Duke Blue Devils. The Duke defense is going to hold, and they do so virtuing a fumble recovery. So 1:24 left to play in the first half as Sid Silva is back trying to throw over the middle. Dangerous throw that honestly should have been intercepted, but it wasn't though. It was not intercepted, matter of fact. And so the drive will end up continuing after all, as now Duke with a 10-7 lead coming right up as Sid Silva in the shotgun drops back, wants it all downfield. He's got a receiver. Dustin Black is able to find the end zone. Touchdown for the Duke Blue Devils, and the Blue Devils fire off a 17-7 lead. But one thing that hurt them in the ACC title game was being able to sustain that level of performance throughout the second half. We'll see if they can beat those demons today. Octavian Cador looking for his guys to tie the game and throws a dot to Corey Harper into the end zone. Touchdown, Florida. And the custom Octavian Cador throws his second passing touchdown of the day and just simply goes off in that second half. He throws another one there, and then with less than 2 minutes to go, Cador hands it off to his tailback, gets some blocks downfield, and it looks like Duke is starting to fade, and they're starting to fade quickly. Another run here for the tailback. He wants to try to get downfield, and this could go the distance. Does end up getting caught at about the 15-yard line. And it looks like Duke may be thinking about throwing the towel, but they don't. They continue to use their timeouts, even though it's probably over. Bold strategy for Cotton for sure, but the Florida Gators do end up winning 31-17 after all. A tough one for Duke. But with that said, it has been an absolutely enjoyable bowl experience. But next episode, what we will end up doing is setting out to decide who is going to be our national champion. I hope you have gone ahead and enjoyed this episode. It was an absolute blast doing the bowl season with you, as well as another season of NCSL football. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you go ahead and smack the like button. Hit that subscribe button as well if you do have to be brand new to the channel. This is John J Gaming on the mic signing off, but hoping you guys are all out there having a good one. Take care, everybody.